Krishna. Yamana Priya. Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadhari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Sarasati Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this afternoon we're going to speak about the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books.
咁今日下晝咧，我哋咧就會講咧係呢個閱讀聖帕帕嘅書籍嘅重要性。
So, our Krishna conscious movement, the aims of our Krishna consciousness movement were put into 4 different phrases.
咁我哋呢個 Krishna 知覺運動咧係可以分開4個階段。
It was spoke about preaching is the essence.
咁我哋話咧傳教就係呢個精髓。
And purity is the force.
純粹咧係我哋嘅力量。
Utility is the principle.
呢個設施係我哋嘅原則。
And books are the basis.
咁而書籍咧係我哋嘅基礎。
So books, what books are we talking about?
咁我哋講書籍，究竟我哋所講嘅係咩書籍呢？
So we're particularly talking about Srila Prabhupada's book.
咁我哋咧係特別咧係講嘅咧就係聖帕帕所寫嘅書籍。
Srila Prabhupada spent a lot of his time and energy to write his books.
咁聖帕帕咧用咗好多佢嘅時間啦，佢嘅精力咧嚟到係寫佢嘅書。Is your computer, Maharaj? Is your computer? You can turn the volume down. Down to.
You want to turn the volume down?
Yeah.
Maybe. Let me see.
But you cannot mute it.
Okay. Try it now. Turn up volume. Hare Krishna. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada would wake up in the middle of the night, usually about midnight, and he would begin writing his books.
聖帕帕咧就會深夜就會起身啦，通常咧就係半夜12點啊，咁佢就會起身噶啦，就開始咧寫佢嘅書，翻譯佢嘅書籍。
It was a convenient time for him because during the day there were always a lot of people around.
咁咧呢個對佢嚟呢個時間對佢嚟講咧係非常之方便嘅，因為喺日頭咧通常咧都會好多人咧係會揾佢會圍繞住佢。
There was always so many things to be discussed between the different devotees.
咁因為喺唔同嘅奉獻者之間咧，一定咧有好多嘢咧要揾聖帕帕嚟到同佢商量。
So Srila Prabhupada took advantage to wake up in the middle of the night, and in the peace and quiet of the midnight he would begin writing his translations and purports.
咁所以聖帕帕咧就好利用咧係半夜呢段時間啦，好平靜嘅時間啦，咁佢就可以咧係好平靜咁樣咧嚟到係翻譯啦，同埋寫佢嘅要旨。
Of course, that was only when he came to the Western world. He did like that.
咁咧當然啦，呢個就係當係去到西方國家嘅時候咧，佢就開始咁樣做。
Oh, later on, of course, in India, once the movement had begun, and he came back to India and introduced Krishna Consciousness Society into India, then he would also wake up in the night.
咁當然啦，當聖帕帕咧開始咗呢個運動啦，當佢翻去印度嘅時候咧，佢都會咧係半夜起身咧係翻譯書籍。
But Prabhupada had been writing long before he went to America.
咁但係咧，聖帕帕咧喺佢未去美國之前咧，佢好早咧已經開始咧係寫作。
He began his Back to Godhead magazine in 1944.
咁喺1944年咧，聖帕帕就開始咧係出版呢一個回歸守神嘅雜誌。
His spiritual master had instructed him before he left the world that he should write in the English language.
咁咧係聖帕帕嘅靈性導師啦，北之士丹塔咧喺佢離世之前咧就係俾咗個訓示聖帕帕，就係叫佢咧係用英語嚟到寫作。
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada initiated our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada in 1933.
咁喺1933年，咁咧就係北之士丹塔沙西Prabhupada咧，佢就係俾咗啟迪咧係ISKCON 嘅創辦靈性導師聖Prabhupada。
Then 1936, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left the world.
咁喺1936年咧，北之士丹塔沙西Thakur咧，佢就離開呢個世界。
But before he left the world, our Srila Prabhupada had written to him and said that, I have not been able to serve you very much because I've been in family life.
咁咧係喺北之士丹塔離世之前咧，聖帕巴就向佢嘅靈性導師寫一封信啦，就話喺你在世嘅時候咧，我冇乜機會咧嚟到係去為你服務，因為咧我係一個居士，一個家庭嘅生活。
Srila Prabhupada had a wife and 5 children.
咁聖帕巴咧係有個妻子啦，同埋5個仔女。
And he had opened business and he'd run a business for some time.
佢亦都有佢自己嘅生意啦，咁佢都呢個生意咧亦都係做咗好多年嘅。
And while he'd been initiated in 1933, he didn't get a lot of chance to do much service for his spiritual master.
咁所以當聖帕巴1933年係接受咗啟迪之後咧，佢冇乜機會，亦都冇乜時間咧係為佢嘅靈性導師做服務。
So he took the opportunity to write to his Guru Maharaj before he left the world, and he asked him that how he could serve him.
咁咧，所以聖帕巴咧就係喺佢靈性導師離世之前咧，就用呢個機會咧寫一封信俾佢啦，就問佢：我有啲咩方法可以為你服務咧？
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati replied to him that I know you're quite fluent in English, so you can use your English for preaching.
咁跟住北之士丹塔咧就向帕巴回信啦，咁佢就話啦：我知道你嘅英語咧係非常之流利嘅，咁你可以咧係用英文咧嚟到去傳教。
Of course, Srila Prabhupada had a good education in Calcutta.
咁聖帕巴咧喺加爾各答咧接受一個非常之良好好嘅教育。
He was fluent in English and Bengali and Hindi.
咁咧佢係精通呢一個Bengali 啦、孟加拉文啦、印度文啦同埋英文。
And he was also very learned in Sanskrit.
佢聖帕巴嘅梵文亦都係非常之精通嘅。
He spent several years studying Sanskrit.
聖帕巴用咗幾年嘅時間咧嚟到研讀呢個梵文。
And then, of course, as a child, he'd learned to play mridanga.
咁當然啦，佢好細個嘅時候咧，佢就學識點樣去打鼓，打mridanga鼓。
So he was very familiar with all the Vaishnava arts.
咁咧，佢係聖帕巴咧係非常之精通咧，係愛斯納亞嘅呢一啲嘅藝術各方面。
There were other devotees, of course. There were the brahmacharis and the sannyasis in the temple, but they were not so. They didn't have all that kind of education.
咁咧，當然喺廟入邊咧有好多精修生啦，好多托缽僧啦，但佢哋咧並冇好似聖帕巴咁好嘅教育。
But our BVV Swami Prabhupada, he had that good fortune. He had a good cultural upbringing.
咁但係聖帕巴咧係非常之幸運啦，因為有個非常之好嘅良好嘅一個成長啊，呢個教育。
So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his spiritual master, told him that if you use your English for preaching, that will be good for you, and it will be good for people who hear you.
咁所以咧，北之士丹塔咧就向聖帕巴講啦：如果你用你嘅英語嚟到去傳教咧，呢個咧係對你嚟講係非常之好啦，而對一啲聆聽你嘅説話嘅人咧，亦都係非常之好。
But just a short time after that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati departed from the world.
咁跟住冇幾耐之後咧，北之士丹塔就離開咗呢個世界。
So then, 1944, Srila Prabhupada began his Back to Godhead magazine.
咁所以喺1944年咧，聖帕巴就開始咧出版佢嘅回歸神手雜誌。
It was a single sheet of paper in black and white, printed in letterpress.
咁咧就係呢個係一個黑白嘅一張紙嘅喺印度係印刷嘅呢個雜誌。
Srila Prabhupada would write the articles and he would edit the magazine and then he would distribute the magazine.
咁聖帕巴佢自己係去選寫呢一啲嘅呢個雜誌入面文章啦，跟住就去編輯啦，跟住印刷啦，亦都係跟住會派發。
It wasn't exactly a magazine, it was just a sheet of paper, really, a big sheet of paper.
咁其實就唔係好似一本雜誌，係一張好大張嘅一張紙。
But that was the beginning of his Back to Godhead.
咁呢個咧亦都係聖帕巴開始去派發呢個回歸手神呢個雜誌。
And he would write the article, but it wouldn't be published regularly, it was published irregularly.
咁聖帕巴佢親自會選寫呢啲嘅文章啦。咁當時並唔係定期出版嘅，係即係不定期咁樣出版。
But then someone suggested to him that, why you're writing these newspapers, this why you're doing this magazine? It would be better if you publish books.
咁跟住咧就有人同聖帕巴講啦，你點解要出版呢一啲嘅雜誌啊、報紙啊？其實咧，你如果寫書咧，係出版書係更加好。
Because books are something which will be kept, but this newspaper you're printing, it will be thrown away, it won't be kept.
咁因為咧，好多人咧去睇完啲雜誌嘅報紙就會掉噶啦，但係書咧就會留低嘅。
So Srila Prabhupada, he thought this is a good advice, and he saw this advice coming from Krishna through the mouth of a person.
咁咧，跟住聖帕巴覺得呢個建議非常之好喎，而呢一個亦都係 Krishna 俾佢嘅一個指示啦。通過呢個人咧係話俾佢聽。
But how to print a book? You need money. It costs quite a bit of money.
咁但係咧，如果你要出版印刷一本書咧，其實咧你需要好多錢，因為咧出書係好貴嘅。
But somehow he got some money from different people, sponsors, and was able to print one volume.
咁咧，但係聖帕巴就係由某啲人嗰度咧得到一啲嘅捐款啦，佢就可以出版一本書。
And he took a very ambitious project that he thought, I want to translate the whole Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁咧，聖帕巴有一個非常之大嘅野心啊，就係咧想翻譯晒全套嘅聖典博加勒談。
In the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam are the most important.
因為根據主海灘人嘅教導啦，聖典博加勒談嘅教導咧係最重要嘅。
Actually, even more important than the Bhagavatam is the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
咁但係咧，其實比聖典博加勒談更加重要嘅咧，就係呢個永恆的主海灘人經嘅教導。
There's a progression in the spiritual knowledge.
咁咧喺呢個靈性嘅知識咧，有一個一層一層嘅遞進嘅。
Bhagavad Gita is like the ABC.
咁咧，我哋咧博加梵歌就好似咧係 ABC 呢個基礎。
And Srimad Bhagavatam is a graduate study.
咁而聖典博加勒談咧就係去到大學嘅呢一個嘅學習。
Then Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is postgraduate.
咁而永恆的主海灘人經呢個咧就係大學之後嘅再去進階嘅呢個嘅學習。
Of course, in our line of teaching, we accept that the absolute truth is contained in all the revealed scriptures.
咁喺我哋嘅思潮傳承入邊咧，我哋接受咧係呢個絕對真理咧係存在喺所有嘅呢啲揭示嘅經典入邊。
We accept the Bible, we accept the Quran, we accept the Torah, the different books of different religions.
咁我哋都接受聖經啦，我哋接受可蘭經啦，呢啲都係唔同宗教嘅書籍嘅經典。
But Srila Prabhupada would sometimes explain that actually the information you get in these other scriptures it's like what you would get in a pocket dictionary.
咁但係聖帕有陣時就會解釋啦，佢話你喺其他呢啲宗教嘅經典入邊得到嘅呢啲知識咧，就好似咧我哋喺一啲就真字典入邊得到嘅知識咁樣。
You want to understand the meaning of a word, So you could look in the pocket dictionary and you'll get a very brief explanation.
咁如果你想知道一個字嘅意思係個解釋係咩呢？咁你如果去揾呢個袖珍字典呢，咁你會有一個非常之簡單嘅解釋，呢個字嘅解釋。
But if you look in the complete unabridged Oxford edition of the dictionary, you get an elaborate explanation of the word.
咁但係咧，如果你係去翻查呢個牛津大學字典嘅話咧，你就會有一個非常詳盡、好仔細嘅呢一個對呢個字嘅解釋。
You know, the meaning of the different parts, the suffixes and the prefixes, everything, the word will be analysed in detail.
咁啊，如果你揾呢啲大字典咧，呢個字咧就每一個部分咧都會即係前邊啦、後邊啦，佢都會好仔細咁樣咧係去分析、去解釋俾你聽。
So Srila Prabhupada would explain that while the absolute truth is in all the scriptures, you get the most complete information in the Vedic literature.
咁聖帕巴就講啦，雖然咧係絕對真理咧係存在喺所有呢一啲嘅唔同宗教嘅揭示經典入邊啦，但係咧我喺偉大嘅文獻入邊咧，你揾到咧最詳盡、最仔細嘅解釋。
And from the Vedas, the ripened fruit of the Vedas is Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁而偉大經典入邊成熟嘅果實咧，呢一個咧就係聖典博加亞談。
Are they hearing okay? Is it going on?
I don't. We don't have any complaint from Shati. Shati is so okay. She's monitoring inside. Yeah.
All right.
Should be okay.
Who's translating? Potumwa?
Gurumani. Yeah.
Gurumani.
Yeah.
Gurumani? 你听到吗？
Because
Does that funny?
yeah, she's using a simultaneous translation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the likened to the fruit. The Vedas are like a tree, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is like the fruit of the tree.
咁咧，偉大經典就好似呢一棵樹啦，咁而聖典博加亞談咧就係呢棵樹嘅果實。
And it's a fruit which is a valuable part of the tree.
咁而果實咧係一棵樹咧最有價值嘅部分。
So these three books are very, very important, and Srila Prabhupada, of course, put a lot of time to translate and give purports on these books.
咁所以呢三套書咧，其實係非常之係最重要嘅書籍啦。而聖帕巴亦都花咗好多時間咧嚟到係去翻譯啦，同埋寫呢一個嘅要旨。
First, he got this. Well, before he went to America, he'd already began publishing Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁喺聖帕巴離開印度去美國之前咧，佢已經係開始咧係翻譯呢個聖典博加亞談。
He didn't try to publish the Bhagavad Gita in India.
佢咧聖帕巴冇嘗試係喺印度咧係出版呢個博加梵歌。
But he himself published the first canto and 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁但係聖帕巴佢本人咧係翻譯咗聖典博加亞談嘅第一篇啦，亦都係出版咗呢本書，係分開3本嘅。
And he would take orders for the book from the different government libraries.
咁佢都接受咧係各個唔同政府部門啦嘅圖書館嘅呢啲訂單。
And when he got the chance to go to USA, then he arranged also to bring the books with him.
咁咧，當佢係準備出發去美國嘅時候咧，佢都安排咗咧就帶埋呢一啲書咧係去美國。
I remember when I became a devotee, that was the Bhagavatam we used to give class in the morning.
咁咧就係當馬拉成為奉獻者嘅時候咧，就係呢一套即係第一篇啦嘅呢本書咧係就係奉獻者會用嚟咧係早課嘅時候會講嘅。
There were quite a few mistakes in the typing and in the editing.
咁咧係有啲打字啦，亦都有啲編輯上嘅一啲嘅錯處喺度。
You know, Indian English. You know.
因為呢個係好印度式嘅英文。
So there were a lot of errors.
咁嗰套書咧，入邊有好多啲錯嘅地方。
But the message of the absolute truth was there.
咁但係咧呢一個絕對真理嘅呢一個信息咧喺呢本書入邊。
And so Srila Prabhupada brought those books to the USA and he was distributing them there.
咁咧於是聖巴巴就將呢啲書咧帶咗去美國啦，亦都喺美國度咧開始去派發呢啲書籍。
And he was also translating. The second canto had already been translated and they were publishing it one chapter at a time.
咁當時咧聖巴巴就喺美國咧就開始咧翻譯聖典博加談第二篇啦，而咧佢係一章一章咁樣出版嘅。
And then we had one chapter would come out, we get a new book.
咁咧每一章翻譯好就會出版啦，就有本新書。
So in this way, Srila Prabhupada was publishing his Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁咧就聖巴巴就通過呢個方法咧係出版呢一個聖典博加談。
But at the same time, he had also written the Krishna book.
咁同一時間咧，佢都寫咗呢一個 Krishna 快樂的泉源呢本書。
And he'd also took advantage of some of the devotee artists to do illustrations of the different pastimes.
咁佢都咧係利用一啲唔同奉獻者佢嘅藝術嘅技能咧，就係畫咗一啲咧係Krishna 嘅逍遙時光咧，將佢展示出嚟。
So when Srila Prabhupada heard how Shamsundar had made friendship with a very rich English musician, Prabhupada said, "Tell him I want him to pay to print the Krishna book."
咁所以咧，當聖巴巴知道Shamsundar Prabhu 咧佢同一個英國一個非常出名嘅音樂家咧成為好朋友之後咧，聖巴巴就叫 Prabhu 咧就你問佢捐款贊助我哋出版呢個 Krishna 快樂的泉源呢本書。
And Shamsundar said to Prabhupada, he said, "Oh Prabhupada, if I ask him for money, it will ruin the relationship. He won't like it."
咁咧 Shamsundar 咧就話回答聖巴巴就如果我問佢攞捐款問佢攞錢咧，可能咧會影響我哋破壞我哋嘅友誼。
But Prabhupada said, "Then what's the good of having a friendship with him?"
咁跟住巴巴就話：如果唔係，點解要同佢有個要有個有個友誼嘅關係啊？
You have to get some money from him I want to print this Krishna book.
你一定要喺佢身上咧攞一啲捐款，我要出版 Krishna 快樂的泉源呢本書。
And so it happened somehow. George agreed, and at that time he gave $19,000.
咁於是咧，最後咧 George Harrison 就答應咗啦，就捐款啦，佢就俾咗19,000英鎊。
He paid the entire cost of the first printing.
佢咧係第一次出版印刷咧係基本上係佢係俾晒所有錢嘅。
And Prabhupada wrote something very interesting in that Krishna book in the introduction.
咁咧，巴巴喺呢個導言入邊咧，你寫多啲非常之有趣嘅嘢。
Something which is very important.
咁咧一啲係非常之重要嘅嘢。
He said this book. He said there are 3 classes of people. First of all.
咁咧，聖巴巴首先就講啦，我哋有呢個世界有3種人。
There's the liberated souls.
我哋由第一種就係一啲已經解脫咗嘅靈魂。
And then there are souls trying to be liberated.
咁第二種咧就係嘗試去希望得到解脫嘅人嘅
And
靈
then
魂。
there are materialistic people
咁第三種咧就係物質主義嘅人。
who have no interest in liberation.
咁咧係佢哋冇對解脫咧係冇興趣嘅。
So Prabhupada said this book will be good for all of these people.
咁但係聖巴巴就話呢一本書咧對所有人呢3類人咧都係有益處嘅。
Said the liberated souls will take great pleasure in hearing the topics of the spiritual world.
咁咧解脫咗嘅靈魂咧，佢哋會當佢哋聆聽呢個聆聽呢個靈性世界嘅呢一啲嘅故事嘅時候咧，佢哋會非常之快樂。
The pastimes of Lord Krishna are completely pure and transcendental.
Krishna 嘅逍遙時光咧係完全嘅純粹啦，同埋係超然嘅。
And those souls who are liberated, they will certainly take pleasure to hear these things.
咁呢啲已經解脫咗嘅靈魂咧，當佢哋去聆聽呢啲逍遙時光嘅時候咧，佢哋會得到咧非常之大嘅喜樂。
And this is supported, of course, in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the Atmarama Sloka.
咁而呢個咧，亦都係喺聖典博加堂入邊咧一個 Atmaram 自我滿足嘅呢一個靈魂嘅呢個詩詞入邊咧係可以證實嘅。
Atmaramascha munayo nirgranta apirukrame kurvanti ahitakim bhaktim itambuto kono hare. This verse is often bewildering to the Mayavadi, to the impersonalists and the Gyanis.
咁咧呢一個詩節咧，對好多非人格神主義者啦，同埋一啲思辨家嚟講咧，好多時都令到佢哋非常之迷惑。
Because this verse describes that even liberated souls will be attracted to hear the topics of Lord Krishna.
咁因為呢個詩節咧就係描述咧，就算有啲已經解脫咗嘅靈魂咧，佢哋咧都會係聆聽 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光咧，都會非常之喜樂。
The topics of Lord Krishna are so transcendental and powerful that the liberated souls take great pleasure in hearing them.
咁咧 Krishna 嘅故事咧係咁超然啦，咁有力量啦，就算呢啲解脫咗嘅靈魂咧，佢哋咧都會佢哋當佢聆聽嘅時候咧，都會非常之快樂。
And we saw the example, Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from birth.
咁咧佢嘅跟住就舉個例子咧，就 Sukadeva Goswami 啦。咁佢咧本身咧一出世咧已經係一個解脫咗嘅靈魂。
Yeah, after taking birth, he immediately left home.
當佢一出世之後咧，就即刻咧就離家出走。
But he was attracted to hear the topics of Lord Krishna.
咁但係咧佢咧係被Krishna 嘅逍遙時光咧所吸引。
And hearing the topics of Krishna, he came back to Vyasadeva to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam.
當佢聆聽到 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光之後咧，佢咧就係翻屋企啦，揾佢嘅爸爸啦 Vyasadeva 咧去聆聽咧聖典博伽談。
So even the liberated souls are attracted by the topics of Krishna.
咁所以就算係已經解脫咗嘅靈魂咧，都會被 Krishna 嘅呢一啲嘅逍遙時光咧所吸引。
And those souls who are endeavoring for liberation, they will also be benefited by reading the Krishna book.
咁咧呢啲係喺度嘗試去尋找呢個解脫嘅靈魂咧，當我哋閱讀Krishna 呢本書嘅時候咧，亦都會得到咧一啲好益處。
Because they're trying to get out of the material existence, they need to hear spiritual sound.
因為咧佢哋喺度嘗試咧係脫離呢個物質世界，所以佢哋咧需要去聆聽一啲靈性嘅聲音。
And the topics of Lord Krishna are pure spiritual sound vibration.
咁而關於 Krishna 嘅呢啲逍遙時光嘅聲音咧，就係純粹嘅靈性嘅聲音。
So those souls who are endeavoring to get out of the material world can be greatly benefited by hearing the pastimes of Krishna.
咁所以咧，通過去聆聽 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光，呢啲係去努力咧，係希望咧能夠脫離呢個物質世界嘅人咧，佢哋咧可以得到非常之大嘅益處。
And the ordinary people, the materialists, they're only interested in sense gratification.
咁一般嘅人啦，物質主義者咧，佢哋咧淨係追求呢個感官享樂。
But they will also be greatly benefited by hearing Krishna book.
咁但係咧，佢哋通過咧係聆聽咧 Krishna 化學的泉源呢本書咧，佢哋都可呢一類人咧都可以得到好大嘅益處。
Because the ordinary materialistic people, they spend all their time, often they watch movies about love stories.
咁因為咧呢啲一般嘅物質主義嘅人咧，佢哋咧就會花好多時間啦嚟到去睇好多譬如電影啊、電視啊、一啲愛情故事啊等等。
You know the different movies which are there, sometimes from Bollywood or whatever, different Tamil movies, or there generally some love story is there.
咁咧一般嘅電影咧來來去都係講啲愛情故事啦、Bollywood 啊，都係講呢啲嘢。
And common people, they will absorb themselves watching these things.
咁一般人咧，佢就會咧完全咧沉醉咗自己咧喺即係去睇呢一啲嘅嘢。
So if they read Srimad Bhagavatam, they can read about Krishna's Rasa Lila.
咁如果佢哋去閱讀聖典博伽談咧，佢哋可以係去聆聽呢個 Krishna 嘅譬如拿沙之母呢啲嘅逍遙時光。
They can hear how Lord Krishna himself enjoys that pure loving relationship with his devotees.
咁佢哋會聆聽到咧 Krishna 同佢嘅奉獻者之間呢個純粹嘅超然嘅呢一個愛嘅關係。
The original loving relationship is there in the spiritual world.
咁喺靈性世界入邊咧，就揾到呢一個原本嘅純粹嘅愛嘅關係。
The love of the material world is just a perverted reflection of everything going on in the spiritual world.
喺呢個物質世界，呢個所謂愛嘅關係咧，其實只係一個靈性世界呢個愛嘅真正嘅愛嘅關係嘅一個扭曲嘅表現。
So people will read the Krishna book. Doesn't matter where they are in life or what their motive is, they can be greatly benefited.
咁所以咧，無論一個人佢係喺人生嘅咩階段啦，佢嘅境況係點樣啦，當佢閱讀 Krishna 法或者傳呢本書嘅時候咧，佢哋都可以咧得到好大嘅益處。
The ordinary people are very fond of hearing war stories, so there are numerous war encounters in our Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁咧，一般人好中意睇戰爭故事啊。咁而喺呢個聖典博加納入邊咧，亦都有好多呢一啲唔同嘅戰爭。
We can hear how Lord Krishna meets with so many different demons. Sometimes they're coming to Vrindavan, sometimes they came to Mathura, and sometimes they even came to Dwarka.
咁咧，佢哋亦都可以咧，係可以聆聽到咧好多 Krishna 喺點樣去殺死啲惡魔啦，喺 Vrindavan 啦，喺 Mathura 啦，亦都喺 Dwarka 都會發生嘅。
And Lord Krishna would deal with these different demons in his own different ways.
咁咧 Krishna 會用佢自己唔同嘅方法咧去處理呢一啲嘅惡魔。
And then some people like to hear crime stories.
咁 crime 啊，有啲人咧就會中意咧係中意聽呢一個犯罪故事。
And so there's a beautiful pastime take place in Srimad Bhagavatam. We hear about the Shaimantaka jewel.
咁咧就係喺聖典博加壇入邊有啲係 Shaimantaka 珠寶呢個寶石嘅呢一個嘅故事。
How the Shaimantaka jewel was producing gold every day, so it became very attractive.
咁咧呢一個寶石咧，每日咧都會做啲黃金出嚟嘅，咁所以咧非常之吸引人。
And it happened, people began killing each other to get it.
咁結果咧就係人咧就係互相殺死對方咧，係希望得到呢個寶石。
And when the jewel went missing, then there was even an accusation against Lord Krishna that he had stolen it.
咁咧，當呢嚿寶石最後唔見咗嘅時候咧，有人話咧係 Krishna 咧係偷咗呢個寶石。
And Lord Krishna had to go out and find the jewel and bring it back.
咁於是咧 Krishna 就要走出去咧，就揾翻呢個寶石咧係翻嚟。
So many different wonderful stories are narrated within the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁所以咧喺聖典博加納堂入邊嘅入邊咧有好多非常之美妙嘅故事嘅。
People often like to hear about different families and the interactions between the different family members.
咁亦都有人係中意咧係聽一啲家庭故事啦，或者唔同嘅家庭成員之間嘅一啲嘅交往嘅故事。
So Lord Krishna's family is the most wonderful family, and we can hear about all the events which took place in Krishna's home.
咁咧 Krishna 嘅家庭咧就係最美妙嘅家庭啊！咁你亦都可以聆聽到咧係各式各樣嘅事情咧喺呢個家庭入邊發生。
We can hear about Krishna's wives and his children and his grandchildren.
我哋亦都可以聆聽到咧關於 Krishna 佢嘅仔女啦、佢嘅孫嘅故事。
And we can hear all the different intrigues and everything which happened in the home.
咁我哋都會睇到佢喺佢嘅家庭入邊一啲錯綜複雜發生嘅嘢。
So even though one may be very mundane and have no interest in transcendence, they can take pleasure in reading Krishna books.
咁所以就算一個人咧，佢係非常之世俗啦，亦都係完全係冇興趣對靈性嘢冇興趣嘅，但係咧，當佢閱讀Krishna 化學的傳言呢本書嘅時候咧，亦都會得到唔同嘅快樂。
So when Srila Prabhupada got the chance, he wrote this Krishna book in such a manner that everyone could hear the pastimes of Lord Krishna.
咁當聖帕帕有呢個機會去翻譯、去寫呢個 Krishna 化學的傳言呢本書嘅時候咧，佢就用一個方法令到咧所有唔同嘅人咧都可以喺從中咧揾到一啲唔同嘅樂趣。
He'd come to America with only the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁當聖帕帕去到美國嘅時候咧，佢只係帶咗咧係聖典博加納壇第一篇嘅
But
翻譯。
now he is writing Krishna book. That's the 10th canto.
咁但係咧，佢而家咧就寫呢一個《Krishna 化的泉源》呢本書啦。呢個咧係聖典博家談嘅第10篇。
But Srila Prabhupada very carefully wrote the book in such a way that even neophytes and materialistic non-devotees can understand it.
咁但係聖巴巴咧係非常之小心去寫呢本書啦。就算咧係好初階嘅奉獻者咧，或者係一啲完全係物質主義者咧，佢都能夠明白。
So Srila Prabhupada often said, I did not write the books only for you to sell.
咁所以聖巴巴就講啦，我寫啲書咧唔係淨係叫你哋去賣。
Of course, he liked us to sell his books.
咁當然啦，聖巴巴咧，我哋去派發佢嘅書籍咧，佢係非常之開心。
But he also expected all of us to read his books.
但係咧，聖巴巴亦都期望咧，我哋每一個奉獻者咧，都係去閱讀佢嘅書。
And he would often ask us, Have you read this book?
咁好多時咧，聖巴巴就問啦：你有冇讀過我呢本書啊？
He would, Are you reading the books regularly?
你係咪定時都會讀我嘅書啊？
And he would ask devotees, Do you know this verse? What is this sloka?
咁咧，聖巴巴都會問啲奉獻者啦：你識唔識呢個詩節啊？喺邊度嚟㗎？
And if we were to sing some song, he would say, Do you know the meaning of the song?
咁當我哋去唱一啲讚歌嘅時候咧，聖巴巴亦都會問：你知唔知呢首歌嘅意思係乜嘢啊？
So he was constantly training the devotees how he wanted us all to be educated.
咁所以聖巴巴恆常咧都係教導奉獻者咧，就係我哋咧要係得到呢啲嘅知識、呢啲教育。
He knew that there were a lot of so-called brahmanas who were not educated.
咁咧，聖巴巴知道咧，好多所謂嘅婆羅門咧，佢哋咧並唔係咁接受過呢啲教育。
So Prabhupada wanted that there would be devotees who were properly well versed in the scriptures.
咁所以聖巴巴咧希望咧係有奉獻者能夠咧係好熟讀呢啲經典入邊嘅詩節。
They should be able to answer the questions of people.
佢哋咧能夠咧係可以咧去回答咧其他人嘅問題。
And how to get the knowledge to answer these questions? We have to read Prabhupada's book.
咁樣點樣先可以揾到呢個回答呢啲問題嘅答案呢？就係咧我哋必須咧要通過咧係閱讀聖巴巴嘅書籍。
So reading Srila Prabhupada's books is only that's only the beginning of our awakening of Krishna consciousness.
咁所以咧，閱讀聖巴巴嘅書籍咧，係我哋咧能夠喚醒我哋嘅知覺嘅第一步。
It's not just simply reading. That's just a reading exercise.
咁咧係我哋唔單單係去閱讀，因為淨係閱讀嘅話咧，呢個咧只係一個咧練習嚟嘅啫。
People often read, and then if you ask them afterwards, what have you read? They don't know.
咁好多人咧就話佢會讀書啦，但係讀完書嘅時候，你問佢究竟讀咗啲咩啦，跟住佢就話我唔知啊。
They were only reading it, and they were not thinking about what they were reading.
咁佢哋咧淨係會讀啦，但係咧就冇去思考究竟佢讀緊啲乜嘢。
So it's important for us that we don't just only read, but we should explain what we're reading.
咁所以咧，我哋唔單單要去閱讀啦，我哋都要去解釋我哋所讀嘅嘢。
And we should be willing to discuss it with other people also.
我哋都係咧要係好願意咧去同其他人咧去討論呢一啲嘅知識。
So when we get the taste for doing that, then we'll have a stronger desire to progress in Krishna consciousness.
咁當我哋咧係有可以能夠有呢個品味嘅時候咧，我哋就會咧有更加大嘅慾望咧，令喺我哋嘅靈修度咧係去進步。
In the Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 verses which are said to be the Gita, the Chatur Shloki of the Bhagavad Gita.
咁喺博家梵歌入邊咧，有4個詩節咧，我哋稱為咧係博家梵歌嘅種子詩節。
So the first verse is in the 10th chapter, Sloka number 8, and it describes Sambandha Gyan.
咁咧係第一個詩節咧就係博家梵歌第10章嘅第8節啦，咁佢就係描述咧呢個Sambandha Gyan，即係呢個關係嘅呢一個嘅知識。
Sambandha Gyan, knowledge of the relationship between the Lord and the material energy and the living entities.
咁咧呢個咧就係描述至尊主啦，呢個至尊主嘅能量啦，同埋生物體之間嘅關係嘅知識。
And then after Sambandha Gyan, the next is Abhidaya Gyan, which is knowledge of the process of devotion.
咁喺呢個甚賓德間之後咧，就係呢個就係我哋解釋呢個過程嘅呢一個嘅知識。
All right, and Lord Krishna describes this Abhidaya Gyan. He says, Madchata Madgata Prana Bodhayantas Parasparam Katayantas Chamam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Lord Krishna is saying, the thoughts of my devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered unto me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss by enlightening one another and conversing about me.
咁呢個係《薄伽梵歌》第10章第9個詩節啦。咁呢個咧就係講嘅就係Abhidaya 嘅知識啦，就係即係話呢一個過程啦。咁呢個嘅詩節就係講啦，我嘅純粹嘅奉獻者嘅思考咧，永遠都喺我入邊啦。佢哋係完全咧將佢哋嘅生命咧係奉獻俾為我服務，而佢哋咧亦都係通過咧係去啟發通過咧討論我啦，同埋啟發互相啟發咧係得到最大嘅滿足同埋喜樂。
So Abhidaya, the process.
咁呢個咧就係 Abhidaya， 就係個過程。
And if we follow the process, we will get the goal, which is Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojana, the goal of life.
咁如果我哋去根據呢個方法去收集啦，我哋就會得到咧呢個嘅我哋嘅人生嘅目標啊，就係 Prayojana。
So we can come to the goal of life by following the process, which is enlightening one another and conversing about Krishna with one another.
咁我哋通過咧呢個過程啊，就可以達到呢一個人生我哋嘅目標啦。咁呢個過程咧就係我哋話係互相係去，我哋一齊去討論啦，去講述 Krishna 啦，亦都係一齊咧係去啟發互相去啟發大家。
But how will we converse about Krishna?Unless we have read the books.
咁我哋點樣能夠互相一齊去討論關於 Krishna 嘅嘢咧？就係咧，除非我哋去閱讀呢一啲書籍。
Just like in the temple, we're worshipping the deities of Gaur-Nitai.
咁就好似喺廟宇入邊咧，我哋咧係崇拜 Sri-Gaur-Nitai 神像。
So people may come and they may ask, "Who is this? Who is the deity?"
咁咧，於是有人入到嚟啦，就問呢個係咩神像啊？
And you say, "Oh, this is Gaur-Nitai."
咁跟住你就話呢個咧就係 Sri-Gaur-Nitai。
And then they will say, "Who are they?"
咁跟住就啲人就繼續問，咁佢哋係邊個啊
？Who is this Gaur? Who is he?
咁跟住就問 Gaur 係邊個啊？佢係究竟係咩人嚟㗎？
So how will we know unless we have read Prabhupada's books?
咁我哋點樣會知道答案咧？就係除非咧我哋閱讀聖帕巴嘅書籍。
We won't know who the deities are. We won't be familiar with the teachings of Lord Chaitanya.
咁如果我哋一定要熟悉咧係主要攤嘢嘅教導啦。如果我哋就連神像係邊個我哋都唔知。
So it's very important for us to read the books.
咁所以咧，我哋呢個對我哋嚟講咧，係閱讀聖帕巴嘅書籍係非常之重要。
Prabhupada always gave so much importance to the books.
咁帕巴咧，恆常咧都係非常之着重呢個書籍嘅重要性。
He wanted us to distribute them, and he wanted us to study them.
咁咧，聖帕巴想我哋去派發呢啲書籍啦，亦都想我哋咧係去閱讀呢啲書籍。
Of course, you may say, "Well, I'm not a very studious person. I don't like to study much."
咁跟住有啲人咧可能話啦，其實我唔中意讀書嘅喎。
Well, just get in the habit of hearing.
咁如果係咁嘅話咧，就係要養成呢個聆聽嘅習慣。
Nowadays, people are a bit lazy when it comes to reading.
咁咧，現今嘅人咧要去讀書咧，佢哋非常之懶惰嘅。
Everyone has got a mobile phone.
每個人咧都有個手機。
And they read the mobile phone.
但係佢哋咧就會讀手機。
All right. So you can use the mobile. You can get audio files, and you can hear.
咁咧。你可以通過你手機咧，係聽一啲就可以有好多嘅 audio 一啲錄音啦嚇，你就可以通過你嘅手機嚟到去聽。
You don't need to have the hard copy of the book.
你唔需要咧係真係攞本書。
You can get the soft copy.
你可以咧係得到網上嘅版本。
Have the book on your mobile phone.
咁你可以喺手機入邊咧安裝呢一啲書籍。
And you can have the whole Veda base. It's all there online.
咁咧所有嘅偉達嘅一啲嘅書籍咧都可以咧係上網睇到嘅。
All the books are there, and whenever you want, you can go there and open them.
咁咧所有呢啲偉達嘅書籍咧都可以喺網上面揾到啦。你隨時隨地咧都可以打開佢嚟到睇。
And there's a new app out. Jayapataka Swami was talking recently about it. You get all audio files.
咁咧啱啱最近咧Jayapataka Swami 都講過有個新嘅手機程式啊，就係有所有嘅錄音都有。
Jayapataka Swami was saying he had some problem with his eyes. He had some cataract in the eye.
因為 Maharaj 去Jayapataka Swami 咧，佢有白內障啊，所以佢睇嘢有啲問題。
So he could not see who was in front of him.
咁所以咧係有人企喺佢面前咧，佢都未必睇到呢個係邊
He
個。
said, I can't see, but I can hear very well.
咁跟住佢就話啦：我睇得唔清楚，但我聽嘢好清楚。
And he said, I'm hearing every day.
咁所以咧，我每日咧都喺度聆聽。
I'm hearing Srila Prabhupada's books every day.
我每日咧都喺度聆聽呢聖巴巴嘅書籍。
They're all available for us to hear.
所有呢啲書籍咧都可以咧係而家咧係我哋可以揾到嘅，我哋可以去聽。
We have to hear. The ears are always there. They're always hearing.
我哋咧就係要去聆聽啦。我哋有耳仔啊，隻耳仔咧永遠都喺度聆聽一啲嘢嘅。
So they will become just like the holes are in the field. In the rice field, there may be holes there. The snakes will enter into the hole.
咁咧就好似喺啲田間嗰度咧，就會有啲窿啦，跟住啲蛇咧就會入去個窿嗰度。
The rats, they make the hole in the field.
咁啲老鼠咧就會喺田嗰度挖啲窿。
And they live in the hole.
佢哋咧就住喺啲窿入邊。
And then the snake comes and eats the rat.
跟住咧啲蛇就會去到嗰啲窿嗰度咧就食咗隻老鼠。
And he lives in the hole.
跟住隻蛇咧就霸咗個窿嚟到住。
So the same way our ears, they will, if we're not hearing about Krishna, we'll be hearing Maya.
咁所以我哋同樣地咧，我哋嘅耳仔如果佢唔去聆聽關於 Krishna 嘅呢一啲嘅説話咧，我哋就會係聆聽咧呢一個 Maya。
We want to keep the ears always full with the spiritual sound vibration.
我哋咧希望我哋嘅耳仔咧能夠咧常常咧都充滿住咧呢一啲超然嘅關於 Krishna 嘅聲音。
We want to hear about Krishna nicely, with attention.
我哋咧要好好咁樣咧係好留心咁樣去聆聽 Krishna。
So hearing is very important. Prabhupada said reading the books is also hearing.
咁我聖巴巴講啦，聆聽咧就係等於咧係閱讀呢啲書籍。
So whether you hear with the ears or hear with the eyes, it's important.
咁所以咧，無論我哋用隻眼去聆聽，或者用耳仔去聆聽咧，都係一樣咁重要。
And what we want to hear about Krishna.
咁我哋咧就希望咧係聆聽咧關於 Krishna 嘅嘢。
And we say Lord Kapila's teaching said, Satam prasanga mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarana rasayana kata Jasjoshanadjas apavargavatmani Shradaratir bhaktir anukramishati. The topics of Lord Krishna are very pleasing to the ear and to the heart.
咁咧呢個主 Kapila 所講啦，呢個關於 Krishna 嘅話語咧，係對我哋嘅耳仔同對我哋嘅內心咧，都係非常之咧令我哋帶嚟呢個喜樂。
So first to the ear and then to the heart.
咁首先就係對耳仔啦，跟住就係對我哋嘅內心。
We don't want to just hear in one ear and out the other ear.
我哋唔想咧左耳入右耳出。
We want to keep that knowledge, to hear it carefully, and it has to go to the heart.
咁我哋希望咧能夠通過我哋耳仔咧，係接收到啲知識之後咧，將佢咧保存喺我哋嘅內心入邊。
And when we hear in that manner, then we will progress from one level to another in the path of bhakti.
咁如果我哋咁樣去聆聽嘅話咧，我哋就會喺 bhakti 嘅路途上，喺奉愛路途上面咧，係可以慢慢咁樣咧係得到進步。
Right? Lord Kapila said, Shradaratir bhaktir anukramishati. Right? And we're one step after another, from Shraddha to rati to bhakti.
咁咧呢個係主 Kapila 所講咧，就係我哋喺奉愛個路途上面就可以一步一步咁樣係去進步。
So the practice of devotional service is scientific process.
咁所以咧呢個奉愛嘅修習咧係一個非常之科學化嘅一個嘅過程。
Adau Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Tabhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nato Nishtis, Tato Sak. Like that, there are different levels, one after another. 9 different levels are there.
咁喺呢個奉愛服務嘅修習入邊咧，有9個嘅過程。
We have to progress through all these different levels.
咁我哋咧係要一步一步咁樣咧係去進步。
We want to develop the goal of life.
我哋希望咧能夠達到咧呢個人生嘅目標。
So even you don't want to develop the goal of life, if you just simply want to absorb yourself in some good, worthwhile activity, then it makes sense to pick up a book and to read something.
咁就算你我冇咁高級嘅係要去到人生嘅目標啦，你只係想希望咧能夠好好咁去生活嘅話咧，你都可以咧係好簡單咧係攞一本書嚟到去開始去閱讀。
Bhagavad Gita has 700 slokas.
咁咧博家梵歌有700個詩節。
So if you read 1 sloka a day, you can go through the Bhagavad Gita. It would take you less than 2 years.
咁咧博家梵歌有700個詩節啦。如果你每日讀一個詩節嘅話咧，你唔需要2年時間咧就會讀完成本嘅博家梵歌。
Some people have the habit; they will recite 1 chapter a day.
咁有啲奉獻者咧就有個習慣，就係每日咧會閱讀念誦1章。
So if you recite 1 chapter a day, then you can go through Bhagavad Gita in 18 days.
咁如果你每日係念誦1章嘅話咧，你18日就會讀完一次博家梵歌。
So Bhagavad Gita, that's not a very big book.
咁博家梵歌唔係一本好大嘅書啦。
But ordinary people, common people, they think, oh, it's such a big book.
咁但係普通人咧，一般人咧就話：哇，咁大本書嘅。
But wherever you read it, you will get transcendental knowledge.
就係無論你係閱讀邊一度都好啦，你都會咧得到啲超然嘅快樂。
Some devotees will distribute books. They will go to people. They'll ask them, just think of a topic, any subject, and whatever they say, you say, look, here it is. It's in the Bhagavad Gita.
咁有啲奉獻者就去派書嘅時候咧，就會同啲人講啊，你隨便諗一個題目出嚟啊，咁跟住打開本書啊，嗱，你咧就喺博家梵歌入邊咧揾到你呢一個問題嘅答案。
You can find everything you want there in Prabhupada's books.
喺聖帕巴書入邊咧，你會揾到你任何你想要嘅嘢。
So Srila Prabhupada wrote the books for everyone. He knew he was writing for the whole world.
咁所以聖帕巴當佢寫書嘅時候咧，佢知道咧呢啲書係俾任何一個人，俾全世界。
And he could write in such a manner that even people with no knowledge, with no education in it, they could appreciate and understand what he was talking.
咁而聖帕巴寫啲書嘅方法就係咧，就算一啲好冇知識啦、好冇學問嘅人咧，佢哋咧都能夠咧係欣賞到，亦都係得到呢啲嘅知識。
And so we want to encourage the devotees to make a habit to read Prabhupada's books.
咁所以聖帕巴咧鼓勵所有奉獻者咧都要養成一個習慣咧，就係每日都係閱讀佢嘅書籍。
That we want to understand Srila Prabhupada and to know Srila Prabhupada better, we can best know him through his books.
咁如果我哋想係更加了解聖帕巴嘅話咧，最好嘅方法咧就係通過咧閱讀佢嘅書籍。
The books, Prabhupada sometimes described that they're his transcendental ecstasies.
咁咧聖帕巴有陣時咧係描述呢啲書籍咧就係佢一超然嘅喜樂。
And Prabhupada would take time himself to hear the books.
咁咧聖帕巴佢自己咧亦都會咧係用一啲時間咧去聆聽佢自己嘅書。
Particularly Prabhupada liked to hear the Krishna book.
咁尤其是聖帕巴最中意咧就係呢個聆聽咧係 Krishna 化學的泉源呢本書。
He would sit in his garden and he would have his servant come and he would say, read to me.
咁咧好多時聖帕巴就坐喺花園嗰度啦，就會叫佢嘅僕人嚟啦，跟住就同佢講啊，你讀俾我聽啊。
And the devotee would pick up Krishna book and begin reading.
咁咧，佢嘅僕人就會拎起《Krishna 化學的泉源》呢本書，就開始讀俾聖帕帕聽。
And Prabhupada would take pleasure in hearing.
咁咧，當聖帕帕去聆聽嘅時候咧，佢就會非常之開心。
And he would admit, he would say, I have not written these books.
咁聖帕帕就話啦，其實呢啲書咧唔係我寫嘅。
That Krishna has written them through me.
咁咧係 Krishna 咧係通過我咧係去寫呢啲書。
So this is actually how transcendental literatures appear.
咁呢個咧亦都係一啲超然嘅書籍咧，係去顯現嘅呢個嘅方法。
That Krishna acts through the devotee.
Krishna 咧係通過佢嘅奉獻者咧嚟到去係做呢樣嘢。
Just like Arjuna acting on behalf of Lord Krishna fighting in the Kurukshetra war.
就好似咧Arjuna 咧係代表 Krishna 咧係去打呢個Kurukshetra 嘅呢場仗。
Arjuna was empowered by Krishna.
咁咧 Krishna 咧係賜予 Arjuna 呢個力量。
So the same way, Srila Vyasadeva was empowered to write books.
咁同樣地咧，係 Vyasadeva 亦都係被賜予呢個力量咧去寫作。
And the same way, Srila Rupa Goswami was empowered to write books.
咁同樣地咧 Rupa Goswami 咧亦都係被賜予力量咧去寫書。
And the same way, our Srila Prabhupada was empowered to write books.
咁同樣地咧，聖帕帕亦都係咧係被賜予呢個力量咧去寫呢啲書。
And he wrote many books. He wrote more than 80 books.
咁佢都聖帕帕寫咗好多書咧，係超過80本。
He was translating and at the same time then commenting on the different verses.
咁佢咧係唔單止係翻譯啦，亦都係咧對唔同嘅呢啲詩節咧係作咗一啲評注。
So these books are very valuable treasure. They're like jewels.
咁咧呢啲書係非常之寶貴啦，就好似咧係珠寶咁樣。
And we want to value them. We want to treasure them.
咁每一個人咧都要珍惜呢啲書。
And the way to treasure them is by studying them more and more.
咁我哋點樣去珍惜呢啲書咧？就係不斷咁樣去閱讀、去研讀呢啲書籍。
So we should all have a program to hear regularly from books like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita.
咁所以我哋咧應該咧係要有一啲嘅我哋應該又係安排一啲節目啦，就係咧係去恆常咧係去閱讀《博家梵歌》啦、《聖典博家亞談》啦，同埋《永恆的主海坦耶經》。
If we hear regularly, then it will clean all the dust away from the heart.
如果我哋係用恆常咁去聆聽呢啲書籍咧，就會將我哋內心嘅呢啲塵咧，全部都係清除晒。
Because the knowledge, the vibration from the books will purify the heart.
因為通過呢啲書籍嘅一啲嘅震盪咧，能夠咧係能夠清洗我哋內心，能夠潔淨我哋嘅內心。
And sometimes it's said, even if you just keep these books at home, even if you don't get round to reading them, it will be of great benefit to you.
咁亦都有個講法就係話咧，就算你冇時間讀呢啲書，你就將呢啲書等喺你屋企嗰度咧，都會咧對你有好大嘅益處。
Sometimes person buys the books, he keeps them at home, never reads them.
咁有啲人咧，佢哋會買一本書啦，就等喺屋企入邊咧，但係從來都唔讀嘅。
But then after some time, the grandchild comes along.
咁但係可能過咗一段時間咧，個孫就嚟到。
And the grandchild went, what are these books?
跟住呢個孫就問：呢本咩書嚟㗎？
And look at the grandchild starts looking at them and starts reading them.
咁跟住咧，呢個孫就開始睇呢本書，就開始讀啦。
And becomes a devotee.
跟住就成為一個奉獻者。
And so the seed is planted.
咁我哋咧係種咗呢個種子。
So Srila Prabhupada wanted us to not only publish the books and distribute them, not only read them, but also study them and teach them.
咁所以聖爸爸咧唔單單希望我哋咧係出版呢啲書啦，去派發啦，亦都唔單單去閱讀啦，亦都係我哋要去明白啦，亦都係去教導其他人。
And what seems difficult in the beginning gradually becomes like nectar.
咁咧開始嘅時候可能係非常之困難啦，但係慢慢地咧呢啲就會變成一啲甘露咁樣。
That in the beginning, of course, there's a lot of things which are new, which we are not familiar with.
咁開始嘅時候咧，可能好多嘢咧都係好新啦，我哋咧係唔熟悉嘅。
The language and the names are all unfamiliar to us.
個語言啦、啲名啦，全部對我哋嚟講咧都係好陌生嘅。
But they're all helping us to become introduced to the topic.
咁但係咧呢啲都係通過佢哋咧，能夠令到我哋咧係明白呢一啲嘅所講嘅嘢。
It's making a basis for our development of devotion.
呢個咧亦都係將會成為我哋咧係我哋奉愛嘅呢個發展嘅基礎。
Sometimes we want to just only hear the stories.
有陣時我哋淨係想聽故事。
We enjoy the pastime.
我哋咧好享受啲逍遙時光。
That's nice to hear the pastimes of Lord Krishna.
咁咧係我哋去聆聽 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光係好嘅。
But Srila Prabhupada not only described the pastimes, he also interwove it with the philosophy.
咁但係聖帕帕咧唔止咧係描述呢啲逍遙時光啦，喺中間咧佢都係加咗好多咧哲學落去。
Try to understand the philosophical significance behind the different pastimes.
令到我哋咧係明白咧喺呢啲逍遙時光背後呢啲哲學嘅重要性。
Trying to understand something of the inconceivable potencies of Lord Krishna.
亦都係明白咧係主 Krishna 嘅一啲不可思議嘅呢一啲嘅力量。
Just like many scriptures, they declare God is great.
咁好多經典咧都會講咧神係好偉大嘅。
But they don't give any detailed information of how he is great.
咁但係咧好多經典咧都冇好詳細嘅資料去講述咧究竟神點樣偉大咧。
But if you read the Vedic literature, then you get a very elaborate description of just how great God is.
咁但係如果你閱讀偉大經典咧，就會揾到咧好多咧係去描述咧係究竟神係點樣偉大咧。
And his greatness is not just only performing some lila like picking up the Govardhan Hill.
咁而佢嘅偉大咧，唔單止咧係淨係上演一啲逍遙時光，譬如好似咧舉起高丹山咁樣。
But his greatness is first of all understood through the process of creation.
咁咧首先咧係通過呢個創造咧，我哋明白神嘅偉大。
We want to understand how God creates.
我哋咧首先會知道咧神點樣去創造。
Sometimes they will simply say, "Oh, God created the world in 7 days."
咁有陣時咧，我哋就聖經入面就講啦，神咧用咗7日時間嚟到創造呢個世界。
How he did it, there's no
咁
information.
就佢點樣做嘅咧？就呢個資料咧就冇嘅。
But in the Vedic literature, we get a detailed information of how creation comes about.
咁但係喺偉大嘅經典入邊咧，我哋咧有好詳細嘅描述咧，就係成個宇宙嘅創造係點，個過程係點樣。
That it's not just simply believe something, but there's actual descriptions of how everything is done.
咁唔單止係一啲我哋相信一啲嘢啦，而係咧入邊咧係有好詳細係描述話俾我聽咧，呢啲嘢係點樣發生嘅。
And the same way, you want to become self-realized, you can get information of the process, how you can become actually self-realized.
咁如果你想係真係得到自我覺悟嘅，咁經典入邊亦都有好多嘅描述咧，係真係話俾你聽呢個過程點樣能夠咧係令到你咧係可以做到咧係自我覺悟。
Becoming self-realized is not just only to know our own self, but to understand our relationship with the Supreme.
咁咧去自我覺悟咧，唔單止我哋要了解我哋自己啦，亦都要咧係要去明白咧我哋同埋至尊主嘅關係。
So when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, then this knowledge is immediately introduced to you.
咁咧，當你去閱讀聖巴帕嘅書籍嘅時候咧，呢一個知識咧就會即刻咧就話俾你聽。
And Srila Prabhupada presents everything in a manner which is very clear.
咁聖巴帕咧用一個非常清晰嘅方法咧，係將呢啲知識咧係話俾我哋聽。
There's no question of what he means when he says something.
當佢寫一啲嘢嘅時候咧，係個意思係好清晰嘅。
Everything is very clear and concisely explained.
咁所有嘢咧都係非常之清晰啦，同埋好仔細咁樣係解釋。
Actually, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this kind of eloquence is described.
咁咧喺《永恆的主海坦人經》入邊咧，亦都講述到咧呢一啲對呢啲好咁美妙啦、咁流暢嘅呢一啲嘅 嘅描述咧，亦都係有講到嘅。
It's the true eloquence is to speak the absolute truth concisely.
咁咧就係如果你能夠好精要咁樣去描述咧呢個絕對真理咧，呢個咧就係真正嘅 eloquent 係即係好美妙嘅一啲嘅寫作。
Right, eloquent.
Yeah.
Very pleasing to hear.
咁你係一啲非常美妙嘅你去聆聽咧係會好開心嘅。
And so Prabhupada, in presenting the absolute truth, he made it accessible for everyone.
咁咧，當聖巴巴係去描述呢個絕對真理嘅時候咧，佢令到所有人咧都可以能夠明白。
There's nothing kept secret.
亦都咧，佢從來都冇收埋一啲嘢咧，係作為佢自己嘅秘密。
But everything is revealed.
所有嘢咧都係揭示出嚟。
But you just have to proceed step by step.
咁但係當然我哋要一步一步咁樣咧係去即係去參加呢個過程，參與呢個過程。
And the beginning is to hear. The process of devotion begins with hearing.
咁而奉愛嘅呢一個嘅過程咧，開始咧就係聆聽。
Hearing is the beginning, and hearing is also the perfection.
咁咧，聆聽係呢個嘅過程嘅開始啦，亦都係呢個完美嘅階段。
And that even one is perfect and fully self-realized, they will still take pleasure in hearing.
一個人就算咧去到完美啦，同埋已經係完全覺悟嘅階段都好啦，佢仍然通過聆聽咧，會得到好多嘅得到喜樂。
Sometimes people say, "Oh, I know everything. I've heard it all before. I know everything."
咁有啲人就話啦：，呢啲我全部聽過晒㗎啦，我乜都知㗎，知道晒。
But if they've heard it, they will they'll want to hear more.
咁但係呢佢真係聆聽到呢啲嘅嘢嘅話，佢更加想係聆聽更加多。
If they have heard it and understood it, then they should want to hear it again and again.
如果佢真係聆聽，亦都係明白嘅話咧，佢更加咧係想咧係聆聽更加多。
That is the nature of transcendental knowledge.
呢個咧係超然知識嘅本質。
That there's no question of I've heard enough.
永遠咧冇一個話就可以話咧係我已經聽夠啦，冇嘅，冇呢個問題。
But rather there's always the thirst and the desire increases to hear again and again.
咁相反咧，我哋去聆聽嘅呢個慾望啦，只會咧係越嚟越大，我哋不斷咁樣咧去重複去聆聽。
And we experience like that going through Srila Prabhupada's books.
咁我哋咧通過閱讀聖巴巴書籍咧，我哋都會有同樣嘅經驗。
That becomes even more and more relishable.
你會更加能夠品嚐到呢一啲嘅書籍。
And we go on, and we never, it never ends.
咁我哋會繼續不斷咁樣讀啦，永遠都唔會終止嘅。
So we want to try to encourage people everywhere to read Prabhupada's books regularly.
咁所以我哋咧係無論喺任何地方啦，我哋都會鼓勵任何人咧係去恆常咁樣去閱讀聖巴巴嘅書。
Just like here in our temple, in the morning, every day we will read Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁就好似喺廟堂嗰度啦，我哋每朝早咧都會咧係閱讀聖典博加談。
And usually every day we will read one verse of the Bhagavatam.
咁通常咧，我哋每日都會讀一個詩節。
Depending, if there's no purport, then we will read another verse.
咁如果嗰個詩節係冇要旨，我哋就會讀多一個詩節。
But this is a daily program. It goes on every day.
咁呢個咧係每日都會做嘅日常，我哋每日都會咁樣去做嘅一個節目。
And it goes on here, and it not only goes on here, it goes on in all of the temples around the world.
咁唔單止香港嘅廟宇會咁做啦，而係喺全世界所有嘅廟宇咧都係會咁樣做。
And you may have your computer or your mobile phone. You can go to the internet. And the mobile networks are there. You can hear the classes going on in the different temples.
咁如果你有手機嘅話咧，有上網嘅話咧，你就可以咧通過上網咧，就係去到世界各地唔同嘅廟堂咧，都係可以聆聽呢一啲嘅講課。
You can hear Srimad Bhagavatam in Dallas, Texas. You can hear Srimad Bhagavatam in New York. Then you can hear it in Los Angeles.
咁你可以咧係通過手機咧網上就可以聆聽三藩市啊、紐約啊、 唔同嘅廟宇嘅呢個博家談早課。
You can hear it from Bombay, you can hear it from Calcutta.
亦都可以係聆聽咧係孟買啦、加爾各答啦，唔同嘅廟嘅博家談課。
You can hear it from Hong Kong, you can hear it from Tokyo.
你亦都可以咧喺東京啦、喺香港啦都可以聽呢啲早課。
It's going on around the world.
咁全世界咧都可以聽到。
And we are able to to have the opportunity to hear as the different devotees around the world relish the Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁你可以係無論何時何地都可以聆聽呢啲講課啦，亦都可以咧感受到咧係世界各地嘅奉獻者咧，佢哋喺度咧係沉浸咗喺呢一個喜樂當中。
And Srila Prabhupada knew that we were all going to study this Srimad Bhagavatam.
而聖帕維都知道咧，我哋所有人咧都會去研讀呢個聖典博家談。
So he spent so much time translating, writing purports.
咁所以咧，佢花咗好多嘅時間咧，係去翻譯啦，同埋寫呢一啲寫呢個要字。
And he set the program, the standard for studying, that every day we would read the verse and chant the Sanskrit.
咁而聖帕比亦都係訂立咗呢一個嘅節目啦，我哋每朝都會一齊去閱讀啦，亦都係會念誦呢一個梵文嘅詩節。
And then one devotee should speak, and the other devotees should discuss.
咁一個奉獻者就會講課啦，而其他奉獻者咧就會參與呢個討論。
So this is the business of devotees.
咁呢個咧就係奉獻者要做嘅嘢。
Just like 5,000 years ago in Naimisharanya forest.
咁咧就好似5000年前嘅 Naimisharanya 嘅森林入邊。
There were thousands of sages who had all come there because they knew Kali Yuga was beginning.
咁咧當時有好幾千個嘅聖人咧聚集埋一齊啦，因為當時咧就係卡利年代嘅開始。
So they came there to discuss topics of Krishna.
咁於是佢哋就聚埋一齊咧，嚟到討論咧關於 Krishna 嘅事情。
And they got perfection.
佢哋咧就得到完美。
So the same way, if we hear this Srimad Bhagavatam, if we spend our time every day to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and absorb our mind in the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, at the end of life, we will also get perfection.
咁同樣地啦，如果我哋每日咧都用時間嚟到去聆聽啦，去品嚐呢個聖典博家堂入邊嘅呢一啲嘅知識嘅話咧，去到我哋人生終結嘅時候咧，我哋都可以得到一樣可以得到完美。
Just like Maharaj Parikshit, he was cursed to die, so he heard Srimad Bhagavatam and he heard it, and after he heard it, then he sat and he contemplated what he had heard.
咁咧就好似 Parikshit 王咁啦，佢咧就係被詛咒7日會死亡啦。咁佢咧就用呢啲時間去聆聽聖典博家談。
And then the snake bird came and bit him, and he went back to Godhead.
咁最後咧呢一條毒蛇就嚟到咬佢啦，佢咧就回歸神手。
He was ready, he was prepared, he'd heard Srimad Bhagavatam.
佢咧已經準備好啦，佢咧聆聽咗整套嘅聖典博家談。
From beginning to end.
由開始到結束。
So he was ready to go back to Godhead.
佢咧已經準備好咧係回歸神手。
And he went.
咁佢真係去咗。
He actually went back to Godhead.
佢咧真係咧係翻去守神身邊。
So we can also go to, you want to go back to Godhead? We want to get success of life? It can happen. Just hear Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁如果我哋想得到人生嘅成功啦，我哋都想回歸神手嘅話咧，咁我哋就要咧係行上去聆聽咧聖典博家談。
But hearing is not just physical presence.
咁咧聆聽就唔單止咧就係你個人喺度。
We have to hear with proper attention.
我哋咧要係正確留心咁樣去聆聽。
We have to inquire.
我哋都要去詢問。
There will be discussion between the devotees.
亦都喺奉獻者之間咧要有討論。
And this is the perfection of hearing Bhagavatam.
咁呢個咧就係聆聽聖典博家談嘅完美嘅方
This
法。
is what creates a spiritual atmosphere.
亦都係通過咁樣咧，能夠製造一個非常之充滿咗靈性嘅氣氛圍出嚟。
When the devotees exchange their different thoughts.
咁咧，當奉獻者咧係互相係分享交換佢哋嘅諗法。
So we will stop and ask if there's some questions.
咁我哋喺度就結束啦，睇下大家有冇問題。 你係咪上緊 Zoom 啊？有冇
Yes.
I think there will be questions on Zoom, but you are on Zoom, Prabhu? 我看不到 Zoom 有没有问题。
他们有问题，我可以在这读。现在他们没有问题。
OK。
我有问题。
好。
感谢马尔讲的，感谢在。我想问的是，不读书的奉献者和读书的奉献者在灵修中有什么区别
？So, Prabhu's question is, what's the difference between those devotees who read books and those who do not read the books?
Well, the difference is one has knowledge, and because of his knowledge, he will have stronger faith in devotion to Krishna.
咁如果佢有讀書籍嘅話咧，即係話佢有知識啦，咁即係話咧，佢對 Krishna 咧、對奉愛咧，係個信心咧會更加大。
Somebody's not reading the books, he won't have much knowledge. He doesn't understand the philosophy.
咁如果奉獻者唔讀書嘅話咧，佢冇乜知識啦，亦都咧係會唔會明白呢個哲學
？So there are different levels of devotees. There's the Kanishta, the Madhyama, and the Uttama.
咁我哋知道咧有3個層次嘅奉獻者啦，初階奉獻者啦，中階啦，同埋咧係最高階嘅奉獻者。
So somebody is not reading regularly, then they will be on the Kanishta platform.
咁如果呢個奉獻者佢冇恆常咁去閱讀嘅話咧，佢只係處於一個初階嘅階段。
They don't have much knowledge.
佢冇乜知識。
So their faith can easily be broken.
咁佢咧好容易咧就會失去咗呢個信心。
And they cannot answer the doubts or the inquiries of people.
佢都咧係解答唔到咧其他人嘅詢問啦，同埋或者疑問。
So they will be on the Kanishta platform.
佢哋咧就處於初階奉獻者嘅階段。
And on the Kanishta platform, people can easily give up Krishna consciousness.
咁如果你處於初階嘅階段嘅話咧，好容易咧佢就會放棄咧呢個奉愛呢個 Krishna 知覺嘅收集。
If they're not hearing regularly, it's very a dangerous situation.
咁如果你冇恆常咁去聆聽嘅話咧，呢個咧你係處於一個非常之危險嘅境況嗰度。
It means that you don't anytime they can give up Krishna consciousness.
咁即係話咧喺任何時刻咧，佢都有機會咧係會放棄咧係繼續去收集 Krishna 知覺。
So we're trying to encourage all devotees that they must read regularly.
咁所以咧，我哋咧係鼓勵所有奉獻者咧都要恆常咧係去閱讀。
那我不讀Prabhupada的書，我可不可以回聆聽世界？能不能得到對 Krishna 純粹的愛 Krishna 陪伴
The question is, if I don't read Prabhupada's book, can I still achieve the perfection in life and go back to Godhead?
Well, it would be not so easy for you.
咁咧，如果你唔讀嘅話咧，就會好困難。
You're not following the orders of the spiritual master.
因為咧，你冇跟從咧靈性導師俾你嘅訓示。
So you have to follow the order of the spiritual master.
咁你首先咧係要遵從咧靈性導師俾你嘅訓示。
You have to have some faith in the teachings of the acharya.
咁咧，我哋要對先前嘅靈性導師嘅教導咧要有呢個信心。
You want to go back to Godhead? You have to. What do you think you're going to do when you go back to Godhead?
咁你要諗下，如果你想回歸神手，你回歸神手嘅時候，你想做啲咩咧
Just eat prasadam.
淨係榮耀際遇。
No, we want to go back to Godhead. In the spiritual world, the devotees are discussing Krishna all day.
咁我哋咧係想翻去呢一個回歸神手啦，係喺嗰度咧喺靈性世界嗰度咧，奉獻者恆常喺度咧係討論緊關於 Krishna 嘅嘢。
If we don't fill our mind with thoughts of Krishna, then the thoughts of Maya will be in the mind.
如果我哋個心意咧係冇充滿住咧係 Krishna 嘅呢一個嘅Krishna 嘅話咧，咁我哋一個腦入邊咧就會充滿咗 Maya。
If our mind is not fully engaged in thinking of Krishna, then it must become the devil's workshop.
咁如果我哋嘅腦、我哋嘅心意唔係恒常咁諗住咧係為 Krishna 服務嘅話咧，咁我哋咧就會俾惡魔咧，我哋嘅心意就俾惡魔佔據。
The idle mind is the devil's workshop.
咁咧呢一個懶惰嘅心意咧，就係呢一個惡魔嘅呢一個嘅地方。
Means we're not thinking of Krishna, we must be thinking of Maya.
咁如果我哋唔係諗住 Krishna 嘅話咧，即係我哋喺度諗緊 Maya。
Either we're in Krishna consciousness or we're in Maya
咁
consciousness.
我哋咧就如果我哋唔係喺 Krishna 知覺當中咧，我哋就喺 Maya 嘅知覺當中。
So to be in Krishna consciousness, you have to be hearing about Krishna.
如果我哋要身處喺 Krishna 知覺當中咧，我就必須要去聆聽咧係 Krishna 嘅事情。
So like every day it's important for us to have classes to speak about Krishna.
咁所以咧，每一日咧，我哋都要有講課咧，係講關於 Krishna 嘅
And
嘢。
then the devotees in the temple will hear about Krishna.
咁咧喺廟堂嘅奉獻者咧，就會聆聽咧係 Krishna。
Of course, people who are not in the temple, they may also hear nowadays by the use of technology.
咁當然啦，如果係嚟唔到廟堂嘅奉獻者咧，亦都可以通過現今嘅科技咧，喺網上面去聆聽。
But we have to be able to remember Krishna.
但我哋咧必須咧要能夠咧係恒常咁憶記住 Krishna。
How to remember Krishna?
點樣去記住 Krishna
You
咧？
have to know something about his activities.
咁我哋要知道佢關於 Krishna 嘅活動啦。
We should know about how to recognize
我
Krishna.
哋要知道點樣咧係認到呢個係 Krishna 啦。
You should be able to know also Krishna's qualities.
我哋都要知道 Krishna 嘅品質啦。
Just like in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it tells how Gopkumar was a cowherd boy from Govardhan, and he never had any education.
咁咧就好似喺呢個 Brihad Bhagavatamrita 呢本書入邊咧，高匹庫瑪佢咧就係一個牧牛童嚟嘅，佢從來都冇受過教育。
And so he never had any education. Somehow he got a mantra from his guru, and by the power of this mantra, he was able to go many places, and he went to Vaikuntha.
咁不知怎地咧，佢又通過佢嘅靈性導師，佢就得到一個曼陀啦。咁呢個因為通過呢個曼陀嘅力量咧，佢就能夠去到好多唔同嘅地方。佢咧有一次就去咗維坤塔無憂星嗰度。
So he was in Vaikuntha, and he saw this person with 4 arms.
跟住佢喺維坤塔嘅時候，佢就見到一個咧4臂嘅人。
And he was very, effulgent, very, very attractive looking.
咁咧呢個人咧係非常之有吸引力嘅，亦都非常充滿咗光燦。
And Gopkumar thought he was the Supreme Lord.
於是佢就諗呢個一定係至尊主。
But the devotees, oh no, I'm not the Lord.
跟住個奉獻者就唔係啊，我唔係至尊主啊，我唔係啊。
Gopkumar could not recognize who's the Lord.
因為嗰個媽冇辦法分辨到咧邊個係至尊主。
There's special distinguishing marks on the body of the Lord.
因為咧喺至尊主身上面有啲特別嘅一啲嘅標記。
But everybody there in Vaikuntha's got 4 arms.
咁每一個喺維坤塔星球上面嘅人咧都有4臂。
So he thought, when he saw something, he thought this is the Lord.
所以佢見到一啲奉獻者嘅時候，佢就呢個一定係至尊主啦。
But the Lord, he has round his neck, he has a Kastuba jewel.
咁但係至尊主咧喺佢嘅頸上邊咧有呢一個珠寶，一個 Kastuba 嘅珠寶。
And he has the mark of Srivatsa on his chest.
咁而喺佢嘅胸膛咧就有 Srivasa 呢個嘅標誌。
So those are the 2 distinguishing features which are unique to the Supreme Lord.
咁呢兩個咧就係至尊主特有嘅呢個嘅標誌。
But Gopkumar, he didn't know that.
咁但係高匹庫瑪咧，佢唔識，佢唔知道。
So, like that, people have to be educated.
咁所以咧，我哋咧必須咧要得到呢個正確嘅教育。
So to understand the Lord, you have to understand that his qualities and his work activities are all transcendental.
咁我哋去了解至尊主，我哋必須要知道咧，至尊主所有嘅呢啲活動啦，佢嘅品質啦，全部等等咧，全部都係超然嘅。
Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti takvataha. Tagvadeham punarjanma naeti mamiti. So Krishna says, you don't want to come back again to the material world. You have to understand my birth and my activities are all transcendental.
咁Krishna 喺《博家梵經》入邊就講啦，如果你唔想再翻嚟嘅物質世界咧，你就要明白咧，我嘅出生咧，我所有嘅活動咧，全部咧都係超然嘅。
So, to understand the transcendental nature of the Lord.
我哋咧要明白咧，至尊主佢呢個超然嘅本質。
Then you can go back to God.
咁你就可以回歸神手啦。
But it's not just I want to go back to God's head.
咁並唔係話我淨係坐喺度話我想回歸神手。
We have to be qualified. We have to want to love the Lord. We have to want to serve Him.
咁所以咧，我哋唔係話淨係坐喺度啦，我哋咧要必須咧係要得到呢個資格，我哋咧要去為佢服務，要了解佢。Now there's a question.
Yes.
Maharaj, Prabhupada has written so many wonderful books. There's so much depth in all these books. Sometimes I wonder in one lifetime whether we can even finish reading all this. Not only finish in the sense of just for the sake of reading it, but because of the realizations, the depth. Now, in addition to Prabhupada's books, today in ISKCON, we have many of his disciples who are also writing books, and many elevated topics about previous acharyas are all being written. Is it dangerous to read those before, like we finish off Prabhupada's book, and like I said, we can't finish Prabhupada's book, it's like so deep. And then do we jump to others?
咁個問題就係話咧，聖爸爸其實寫咗好多書籍啦，呢啲書籍咧其實真係好深入嘅。咁就算我哋咧要呢一世讀完呢啲書咧，都好似好困難咁，亦都係冇完嘅啦，即係冇盡頭嘅。即係我哋唔單止去讀啦，亦都要覺悟啦。咁而唔單止係聖爸爸嘅書啦，咁近代亦都好多聖爸爸嘅門徒啦，好多靈性導師，我哋寫咗好多好多嘅更加多嘅書籍。咁有好多呢啲書籍咧，佢哋嘅題目都係非常之深嘅，亦都係可能係一啲之前嘅靈性導師佢所講嘅一啲嘅題目啦。咁究竟我哋應該點樣做咧？我哋淨係讀爸爸嘅書咧，其實都好似唔好夠啦。
Well, yes, it's certainly dangerous to try to go to other books without first reading Prabhupada's book.
咁當然啦，如果我哋咧唔係首先咧係去閱讀聖爸爸嘅書籍咧，而就跳咗去閱讀其他呢啲靈性導師嘅書籍咧，呢個係非常之危險嘅。
I do know there are a number of spiritual masters, as you say, they've written their books and they want their disciples to read their books.
咁我亦都有好多靈性導師啦，佢哋寫咗啲書啦，亦都想佢嘅啲靈性導師亦都想佢哋嘅門徒咧係閱讀佢哋所寫嘅書籍。
But I personally feel that we're supposed to read Prabhupada's books first.
咁但係我自己個人咧就覺得咧，我哋首先咧係應該閱讀咧聖爸爸嘅書籍先。
And the other books are meant to supplement Prabhupada's books.
咁而其他啲書咧都係咧係對爸爸嘅書咧係作咗一個補充。
To writing books, publishing books, it's quite controversial. How much we should encourage other people to publish their books.
咁去寫書啦、出版書咧，其實要做幾多咧？其實都係一個比較有爭議性嘅一個嘅題目。
I always understood that we were supposed to read Prabhupada's books first.
咁我嘅理解就係咧，我哋首先咧必須係去閱讀聖爸爸嘅書籍先。
Now certainly the subjects which we learn, like the Bhakti Shastri and the Bhakti Vaibhav and so on, it's all based around Prabhupada's books.
咁我哋好多嘅課程啦，譬如 Bhakti Shastri 啦、Bhakti Vaibhav 都係咧係建基於咧係聖爸爸嘅書籍。
So if you studied Prabhupada's books nicely, then there will be no problem with any other book.
咁如果你係可以好好咁樣去閱讀聖爸爸嘅書咧，咁你去閱讀其他書咧，其實都冇問題嘅。
And some devotees have written books which are like a supplement to Prabhupada's books.
咁有啲奉獻者佢哋寫到好多一啲書咧，其實就係對 Prabhupada 嘅書籍咧係一啲嘅補充。
But Prabhupada also felt anything which we needed to know, it was there in the book. It was in his books. Everything we needed to know was in his books.
咁而聖爸亦都講過啦，就所有我哋需要知道嘅嘢咧，其實全部咧都係可以喺佢嘅書入邊揾到。
And Prabhupada would say, when they asked who will lead the society after you've gone, then Prabhupada said, I will live forever by my books.
咁而亦都有奉獻者問聖爸爸啦，當你離開咗呢個世界之後咧，邊個去帶領我哋啊？咁而聖爸爸就話啦，我咧會通過我嘅書籍咧，我仍然咧係活喺你哋嘅當中。
So our society is certainly meant to be centered around Prabhupada's books.
咁我哋嘅協會咧，亦都係將 Prabhupada 嘅書籍咧放喺我哋嘅中心。
Usually start to use other books other than Prabhupada's books, it's certainly going to create some problems.
咁如果我哋係用其他嘅書籍作為中心嘅話咧，咁一定咧會產生好多嘅問題。
Yeah.
他这个奉献者问他叫阿斯塔萨基维维达西，顶拜诸位感恩翻译。请问读《须勒帕帕书》的时候，对于处在不同阶段的奉献者，有什么不同的阅读方法吗？比如刚接触的人，已经接触几年或者接触10年以上的，这个不同阶段的奉献者读书是不是有不同的方法
？So for devotees at different stages, for example, practicing a few years, more than 10 years, there are different methods for studying Srila Prabhupada's book.
Well, yes, somebody is a new devotee, very new, so then it will be a little difficult for them, maybe.
咁對一啲非常之新嘅奉獻者嚟講咧，可能咧係會有啲困難嘅。
But if they're patient, gradually they can understand everything.
咁但係如果佢哋有耐心嘅話咧，佢慢慢咧就能夠明白晒所有嘢。
Doesn't have to be a separate class for new people.
咁咧就算對新嘅奉獻者嚟講咧，就唔需要特別咧係有一堂課俾佢哋。
Maybe for a little while, just for a day or two, a few days to get them familiar.
咁可能咧就開頭嗰幾日啦，就等佢哋能夠熟習啲。
We try to do that with the devotees who come in China who are a little older. We try to give them some special education.
咁喺中國大陸啦，咁對一啲比較年長嘅奉獻者咧，咁我哋都嘗試去咁樣做。
Just for some time to get them familiar with what's happening.
咁咧就係等俾少少時間我哋咧，等佢哋熟習咧究竟係發生緊咩嘢。
Get them familiar with the words, the terminology, the language which is being used.
咁等我哋咧熟習啦一啲特別嘅名稱啦，同埋我哋所用嘅語言。
No, it doesn't take very long to do that.
唔需要好長時間嘅。
People are patient, willing to hear.
咁咧，大家要有耐心啦，去聆聽。
The next question.
Yeah.
华家利拉这位大师，顶拜古鲁感恩翻译，请问先读须勒帕帕利拉摩瑞卡还是先读须曼巴格瓦？
The question is, should we read Srila Prabhupada Linamrita first or Srimad Bhagavatam first?
Well, you can read both of them together at different times.
你可以兩本書一齊讀。
Yeah. You read a little bit Prabhupada Lilamrita and then read some Srimad Bhagavatam.
咁你可以讀少少 Prabhupada 嘅甘露逍遙啦，跟住又讀少少聖典博加塔。
as you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that's going to take a lifetime.
因為咧閱讀聖典博家談咧，你需要用一生人嘅時間。
But Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita won't take so long
咁
to.
但係你去閱讀聖爸爸嘅甘露逍遙咧，就唔需要咁長時間
You
嘅。
can go through it reasonably quickly.
咁你可以應該好快可以讀完。
So you can read Prabhupada Lilamrita, you could read it in a more casual manner.
咁當我哋去閱讀巴巴嘅甘露逍遙佢傳記嘅時候咧，我哋可以比較輕鬆咁樣去讀。
It's lighter reading than Srimad
咁
Bhagavatam.
佢咧係對比聖典博家嘅談咧係冇咁沉重嘅輕鬆啲嘅。
Huh?
巴巴卡瑞尼这位大师顶拜咕噜和所有的奉献者。我刚开始学习 Bhakti Sastri， 我先学的是至尊奥义书一说帕尼萨。请问咕噜，除了课程学习外，我每天要读合家放歌和法坛至少多长时间呢？
The devotee just started the Bhakti Sastri course, and she's learning Upanishad, Sri Upanishad, and she's asking how much time she needs to read the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam every day, besides the Bhakti Sastri.
Besides the Bhakti.
Besides the Bhakti Sastri, it's on Sri Upanishad.
Well, how much time do you need?
咁你自己有幾多時間呢？
You should have read some Bhagavad Gita before you went to Bhakti Shastri.
咁首先你去讀 Bhakti Sastri 之前咧，你應該係閱讀咗博家梵歌。
Bhakti Shastri course is for people who are getting ready for their second initiation.
咁咧係 Bhakti Sastri 咧係對啲準備好咧係第二次啟迪嘅奉獻者咧而設嘅。
So it's expected that you've already gone through the Bhagavad
咁
Gita.
即係話咧，你應該咧已經係讀過博家梵歌。
Of course, you're not expert in it, but you've read it.
咁當然啦，你唔係好精通啦，但係你一定咧係即係起碼你係讀過博家梵歌。
And similarly, the Ishopanishad, then it's not a very big book.
咁同樣地咧，至尊奧義書咧並唔係一本好大嘅書。
And it's just mainly philosophical work.
咁主要係一啲哲學性嘅一啲詩節啦。
So you can read a little bit. It doesn't take long to read the Ishopanishad.
咁所以你去讀呢個至尊奧義書咧，就唔需要好長時間。
最后一个问题，西塔拉尼这位大师，顶拜咕噜感恩最后的奉献者，是不是像其他人重复啪啪书籍里的话，比自己读啪啪书更能得到灵性的激励？灵性的激励 ，inspiration encouragement。我给别人重复啪啪的说的话，比我自己读更能让我受到激励。
So the question is, if I repeat the words, the words of Srila Prabhupada, is it more powerful than just reading by myself?
Well, you repeat the words of Prabhupada, yeah, that's certainly very, very good.
咁啊，我哋去重複聖爸爸所講嘅話語咧，當然係非常之好嘅。
At the same time, you should understand the meaning of what Prabhupada is saying.
咁但係同一時間，我哋都要咧係去明白咧，究竟聖爸爸所講緊嘅係乜嘢。
So if you use your own words to explain what Prabhupada is saying,
咁我哋可以用自己嘅話語咧去解釋聖爸爸所講嘅嘢。
you can do that.
我哋可以咁樣做。
And then, Prabhupada didn't expect us just to always repeat everything.
咁聖爸爸唔係淨係期望我哋咧，成日都係重複佢所講嘅嘢。
You have to be able to put it into a language in which the other people can understand.
咁我哋咧要能夠咧係運用呢一啲知識咧用喺我哋自己嘅語言當中啦，亦都去令其他人去明白。
So if you can put it into a nice language.
咁如果我哋能夠用返一個好好嘅語言啦去解釋。
Okay. So we'll stop here now.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.